Can't make me.
You be quiet.
Oh, there's a story behind you can't make me.
I'm not going to do that.
My little brother, when I came home from the Marine Corps, my little brother was 6 or 7 years old.
Here we go.
No, I'll shut up. Judy, you're awesome, dude.
Judah is awesome.
Thank you.
Look at this, and he can count to 3.
Good Friday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us on Real Talk with Keith Smith. It's an absolute pleasure to connect with you through the I Love CVille Network on a show that's presented by Yes Realty Partners. Yes Realty Partners, a boutique brokerage here in Charlottesville, Albemarle County in Central Virginia, has been sizzling with business, including some new inventory courtesy of Yes Realty Partners coming to market soon. If you need buyers and sellers counsel on how to get to the closing table and beyond, it's Keith and Yonna Smith at Yes Realty Partners. I have seen it firsthand with multiple trades, our family.
And you still talk to me.
Multiple transactions.
Oh, shut up.
How Keith and, this is where you want me to actually. I'm actually helping you get some business right now. You distracted me. Where Keith and Yonna Smith and Yes Realty Partners will help you figure out this game we call life and real estate. They genuinely are great people. Another great person is Judah Wickhart. Notice the new jacket for Judah, Keith?
I did.
It looks sharp, don't you think?
Lean, twist to your right a little bit. Is that a Patagonia?
I asked that question too.
No, it's a LL Bean.
Yeah. See, Keith is such a brand guy. That's the first thing. I'm a brand guy too. LL Bean's a great brand.
So LL Bean is copying Patagonia.
And I thought it was a Patagonia.
Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. It looks sharp, right?
So I got.
Do we have 3 shot for Judah Wickhart so the viewers and listeners can see what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Are you done with
I don't
your
even
intro?
think he has
Am I
the
allowed to
microphone.
talk now?
He doesn't have the microphone.
Am I allowed to talk?
You're allowed to talk.
I'm allowed to talk.
Yeah.
He has the microphone in front.
I don't think. Well, that's too
This
far.
is the time when your wife and my wife says, "Boys, behave. Let's get on with it."
That's every day in our house.
Amen to that. So, hey, I was just wondering. How do you feel about, 2 children from the same set of parents? Are they different? How do you feel about that, Jerry?
Well, that's a fresh question. I had never thought about that. I'm so unprepared to answer that question, Keith.
Well, brother, I've known you for 7 years. There's very few things you're unprepared to answer. Even if you don't know the answer to it, you will answer it.
You and I have that ability. It's this is where you cue up your mom's line.
No, my grandmother's.
Oh, it's your grandma's line. Let's cue it up.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite lines you use, by the way.
You're talking about the story. Yeah, she used to say, "Keithy, me boy," when they vaccinated you. They used a phonograph needle instead of a hypodermic needle. And then she would use, very Irish terms, had a 4-letter word in it, and it wasn't fun. Shut the F up. I told that once in front of a crowd of folks that I was teaching. I was doing a presentation on housing affordability, whatever it was. And I realized everybody's eyes glazed over with the term phonograph because everybody in the room was a Gen Z or a Gen X.
I don't even know what it is, and I'm a millennial.
Yeah, or a millennial, excuse me, not a Gen X. So they used to have these things, right?
Okay.
They're called phonographs, and you put a vinyl record on it, and it had a needle on it, and the needle would pick up the sound in the groove, right? And the sound would come out. So there you go. In other words, I would never shut up.
I know the feeling. It's like our children.
Tell me. Which one is like what?
So viewers and listeners, my wife and I have 2 fabulous boys. Most of the time they're fabulous. Occasionally they're feral, but we love them dearly regardless. Our oldest is 7. He's in 2nd grade. He is most in appearance and in physical appearance like me.
Oh, yeah.
But in...
Which one is
our
that?
oldest looks like me. Well, at least that's what I've been told. But is more in personality, like my wife. Our youngest, unfortunately, still looks very much like me because my genes are a little bit more dominant, but has a little bit more of the Irish in him, a little lighter hair. But he is, without question, personality-wise, like me, and he is an absolute tornado, Tommy Tornado.
I was trying.
We call him Zach Coplips and Trey Nato.
Yes, your oldest looks a lot like you. He's almost as tall as you, too.
Oh my gosh, she's hit a growth spurt, dude.
Yeah, he's almost as tall as you.
My wife's got very tall jeans.
I saw that picture that you guys posted.
And he was leaning over.
In the bank vault, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was trying not to make you feel.
Yeah. I was like, gosh, I got to stand on my tippy toes here next to my boys.
There you go. Well,
The one you got to watch out for is the little one.
Well, you know what comes in small packages.
What's that?
Dynamite.
Dynamite comes in salt. He is, our youngest is Dynamite, without question.
But it's amazing how two children can be completely different.
You're
And
100% right.
How do they get along?
Famously.
Really?
Our
What's the
youngest,
age difference again?
7 and almost 3. Our youngest is 3 on Thanksgiving. Our youngest adores his older brother.
Oh yeah, I can
He
see
is
that.
he is a superhero for him.
Yeah.
Our oldest tolerates and loves his younger brother. Tolerates more, loves most of
Are
the
you
time.
the youngest or oldest in your family?
I'm the oldest in my family.
Yeah. And you're responsible for everything.
It's interesting. My brother and I are very different. Very similar, very similar, but very different. Very ambitious, both of us. Hardworking,
Really?
both of us.
Would have never known that.
Very laid back, my brother, where I'm a little more high strung.
Really?
And alpha and
Really?
high energy.
Really?
He's in more of the California lifestyle. California's really rubbed off on him. You know that Cali lifestyle?
It's interesting you should say that. I guess we'll talk about 50-year.
And Ray Canal wants us to talk. He's like, let's go. Giddy up, let's go.
We are. Isn't
Yeah,
that what we're doing? Aren't we talking?
We're going to, right?
Right. It's interesting. So my father-in-law, God rest his soul, was drafted, he was part of the Wehrmacht during World War II and got drafted into it. So I was having this whole conversation before he passed away about how did this all happen and yada, yada, yada. And he goes, sometimes you just become a product of your environment. So to your point, living in California for all these years, you kind of just adopt this California vibe. My question is how's his taxes going?
I'll tell you what. He is. Taxes are high. Wildfires are everywhere. He's got some of the houseless population living in tents in front of his multi-million-dollar house, like on the road. But you know what? It's the Cali vibe. You either embrace and love the Cali vibe, or it's just a good place to visit and a place you want to leave.
So we go to San Diego for a conference every year.
Yeah.
Mid-September.
San Diego's great. Very different than Los Angeles, San Diego.
Yes. And you go outside of a couple of block radius of downtown, it becomes very different, very fast.
Yeah. I like Hotel Del in San Diego.
Love it. Well,
One
that's
of my
on
favorite spots.
That's on Coronado. That's a whole different world unto itself.
Yeah.
But so here's the simple answer to 50-year versus a 30-year. In my left hand is 8 pages of an amortization table, which nobody ever really reads at the closing table. It's 8 pages for the 30-year.
I read that.
Of course you do. In my right hand is the 50-year, which is up to 18 pages. So that tells you everything that you need to know about it.
So in a nutshell, a lot more interest, viewers and listeners. A lot more payments, a lot more interest.
Yeah, look, I did a pretty good post this morning. If you really want to kind of take a look at the math and how this breaks down and how it and how it moves forward, this is. One just needs to look how well the 40-year mortgage rate is performing, which is close to zero. Nobody's doing that. 50-year is going to be even worse than that. The mortgage rates are set by the bond market, right? So guess what? If it's 50 years, it's more risk. The interest rate's going to be above. It is. I did an analysis: 6% versus 6% for a $300,000. A $400,000 loan, but in reality, if this product comes out, it's going to have a tag on it of something. And oh, by the way, the buyer who's buying that probably doesn't have stellar credit score, which means the interest rate's going to be even higher. So they're touting this, hey, you can save a few $100 a month. I think in reality, it's going to be a wash at best. It may, at a monthly level, it may be even worse. But if you take a look at this amortization table and you kind of break it down on how much interest you're going to pay, it's insane. Here's another thing to take in mind, right?
Yeah, comments are coming in quickly.
I got it. What did we talk about last week or the week before? What's the average buyer right now? Age?
40.
First-time home buyer.
First-time home buyers 40.
The average buyer is at 62, but the first-time home buyer is 40.
40.
You
You do a 50-year mortgage at 40, you're going to be passing the debt on to your kids. Yeah.
You're 90 years old before you pay it off.
Great way to create some generational debt, a 50-year mortgage. This is what I put on the I Love CVille Network. I'll read it to you. Curious of what you say, then I'm going to get to Ray Cadell, Travis Hackworth, and some of the agents who are commenting on the program. This was going to be a hot topic. We put some gas on the fire in the middle of the week on this topic. I said Donald Trump's 50-year mortgage is fool's gold and traps unsophisticated and underfunded buyers into homes they cannot afford, paying predominantly interest every single month. When the HVAC unit craps out or the roof needs replacing or the plumbing bursts or the washer dryer breaks down, the unsophisticated and underfunded 50-year mortgage holder will downward spiral into a pit of quicksand debt with no relief in sight. Only select realtors and mortgage brokers are pimping the 50-year mortgage because it helps them do more deals.
So I'm going to push back,
Please.
as we usually do.
Please do.
So I'm going to change the term sophisticated to the well-informed
Okay.
buyer.
Okay.
Because I just don't.
You don't like the word unsophisticated. I get it.
Yeah. And not only well-informed, but the buyer that has a trusted advisor, a well-informed, trusted advisor. You know, I think at the end of the day, this fact that this is even being touted as a possibility
It's insanity to me.
is a sign of the desperation in the market.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The desperation of people trying to get into the beginning or get their slice of the American pie and begin their generational wealth. Back to the 40 and the 50 equals 90. Even I can do that math. You know, there's nothing good that happens to that. But I did an analysis, right? Real world, purchase price of $450,000, down payment of 10%. We've got a loan amount of $405. And what I wanted to do, because the other thing we learned from the NAR report is how long are people staying in homes now?
It's extended to about 10 years now.
11 years.
Yeah, I think it's 10.2, wasn't it? Was the exact number? I believe it was 10.
I was looking at the report right now. It's 11 years.
Okay. It was 7.
100%.
Yeah.
And not too long ago.
Right. COVID changed that.
So now,
The low interest rates changed that, frankly.
well, that's the other, and I'll get into a couple of opinions on this 50-year because let me run this through real quick. But that 50 years is also a version of a lock-in, right? It'll create its own lock-in effect, I think. And
With the inventory.
Well, lock in with the buyer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So here's an analysis, right? $450 on the purchase price, 10% down, $405 on the loan amount, 11 years. I'm picking 6% just to pick a number, right? At 11 years, right, assuming you don't put any additional to the principal, you're going to walk out with $75,000 in your pocket, right? That's just that simple PI math, right, on it. You know, that doesn't include what your appreciation is going to be. This is strictly your equity, right? This is what you built up in your home on that end of it. By the way, if you pay an extra $150 a month, you buy one less of these things, these lattes, that number jumps to 103. A 50-year mortgage, assuming it's the same rate, and it will not, folks, it will not be the same rate. All you got to do is look at the difference between a 15-year and a 30, right? It's about a point difference, some a little less, some a little more on it. I can assure you the 50-year mortgage rate will have some premium attached. But assuming it is at the same 6%, same set of numbers, at 11-year, you're walking away with $19,925,000. You pay the extra $150, you're walking out roughly $48,000. Again, I'm not that smart, One, you're walking away with 48,000. The other, you're walking away, if you do the extra 150, you're walking away with 103. This is what I mean by lock-in effect. It's going to lock in people that at year 11, when they want to move, they're not going to have enough appreciation or equity to move up the housing ladder. It is just really, it's not even about, it's just going to be ineffective. It's going to do really nothing to help housing affordability. I know you got a few questions, and I want to...
Let's go to Ray Cadell. Ray Cadell's been in the game for... How long's Ray Cadell been in the game, Keith?
I believe 105 years.
Has he been in the game about as long as you?
No, he beats me for sure.
Okay, Ray Cadell, when did you get in the game?
I believe he got in the game...
Early, mid-'80s, Ray?
Before the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. He'll let us know, but he's been in it longer than I have, for sure.
He says, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm curious to hear about the 50-year mortgage possibility. Pretty sure it's like a lot of things, not all good, nor not all bad. As a guy whose entire career has been focused on first-time home buyers, I'm very interested. As you know, when I'm on the road, I rarely miss your show.
Oh, thank you, Ray.
And he says, I think we should look at this in terms of two things. One, how does this shake out over the 5 to 7 years many folks live in a single property rather than 30 to 50 years? Two, is this better than renting? He also says, and with rents in our market skyrocketing, how does that play in? And by the way, I'm not at all sure about this, but it's worth studying. I'm certainly not pimping, as Jerry would suggest. He says this is year 40.
I don't know, dude. If he gets dressed, he looks pretty awesome.
Year 40. That, in the use of the word pimping in your context there means suave. The use of the word pimping in my context means huckster. I've seen some folks, and certainly not Ray. Ray is class.
No.
Ray
I
is
grew
honest.
up in New York City in the 70s. I know what a pimp looks like.
Yeah, I've seen some. And you know, it's the sign of desperation of the supply chain of, we call real estate, the professionals. I've seen some professionals like literally pimping the 50-year thing as if it's the next best thing since sliced bread.
But it's desperation, right?
I know,
right?
I know.
This is, if you take a look at the numbers.
It's a tough market.
And Ray, I can't use 7 anymore because the average, national average
11.
is 11. So yeah. I just ran through the numbers. If you stay in the house in 11, you go ahead and do it. To your question, does it beat rent? Probably yes, right? And yes, you're in the game and you're starting to build equity to it, you know, but look, the real way, and it's in my post, Ray, if you want to go look at it, and I've been preaching this thing for whatever, I'm on the 20th, I'm going to talk in front of the governor's housing conference about this very topic for an hour and a half. God bless him. You got to change the inventory, right? It's a supply and demand problem. Prices are outpacing people's income. I took a look at because to put it in perspective, the 30-year mortgage product happened right after World War II. That was created in World War II. Prior to that, the maximum length of a loan was somewhere 5 to 10 years. It was a very different world. But what was happening in those times, and this is just a simple Google search or my good friend AI search to confirm this data, what was happening back there, the cost of housing was below people's income, right? Now you're looking at 40-50% of people's income just to get into a medium-priced home, which doesn't include the stuff that's north of that, to go in here. And the way that it happened after the war, because the last time we had an inventory shortage of less homes versus buyers was pretty much after the war. We outbuilt ourselves. We built ourselves out of it, i.e. Levittowns, all this kind of great stuff. The zoning ordinances were anemic at the time, and the market just did it. You can decide if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but that's how the market stabilized into that end of it. The federal government, and I said this when Trump got elected, has very little levers to pull to help housing affordability. They got zero levers.
I don't think they have zero levers, Keith.
The real impact. Oh, okay, so tell me what levers you have before I tell you what I think the impact.
I mean, are you talking about influencing rates besides that?
No. Yeah, you can influence rates, and how do you influence rates? You do that by talking, right? Because
Yeah, we saw what happened during COVID
That gets
and how that impacted real estate.
100%. But they don't have a used series of levers.
That's about the only one that I can see.
So that's my point. They don't have a lot of levers to pull, right? They can help inflation. They can help whatever they can do on those.
Outside of what happened during the housing crash with the mortgage-backed securities and the rescue of big banks, which was a travesty.
So they have limited levers to pull. The real levers is the reason why all politics are local, are your state and local level. It is your land use policies. It's your ability to allow things to get built. Prime examples, City of Charlottesville. If they would just adopt the state 9,000 square foot disturbance for their erosion and control and do what's called an agreement in lieu of a plan, which, by the way, just to get off the topic for a second, if they were to do that, gives the city way more leverage over the developer than a plan does. And I don't want to go into the detail on it, but it's an agreement that says, basically, I'll do whatever the city tells me to do on it, versus the 6,000 square feet it is now. That simple change will increase the housing stock in the city of Charlottesville. So, look, a lot of people are trying to grab at straws for things to help affordability. I don't think this is one of them. I've just closed my 15th land trust home in almost 45 days. We had a super successful on it. Most of those buyers are taking advantage of a program out of Virginia Housing called SNAP. It's not the food stamps one. It's not. What that does, now this is state money, what that does is that lowers the interest rate by 1 full point for 30 years. That is impactful. That in a 30-year mortgage dropping 1 point is dropping, I just closed one yesterday, a 1,500 square foot townhome, three bedrooms, brand new construction. The monthly PITI that this buyer is paying because of that is $1,600 a month, versus it would have been north of $2,000 if they weren't getting that 1 point. But your fingers are working, and I'm sure people are pushing back.
They are. They're agreeing. They're pushing back. All of the above.
So which one do you want to take? The pushbacks?
Let me go to. I'll do them in order as they came in.
Sure.
Travis Hackworth's watching the program.
Hey, Travis.
He is in Danville.
Danville is doing awesome. You need to take a ride out there and take a look at it.
Dan Vegas, I think, is the nickname of Danville. In fact, let me find.
Yeah, Danville's doing great. It's really doing a 180. It's not coming without growing pains for sure, but that's a prime example where a locality kind of got it.
He says, too, by the way. He says the 50-year mortgage is a horrible, horrible idea.
Yeah.
The math simply does not bear out a good result in the end.
Yeah.
You're going to pay far, far more interest than you almost ever would the principal. It just makes no sense. I get the idea is to put more people in the position of home ownership, but at what cost? A lifetime of debt to the bank is not the way. Amen, brother. That's how I feel.
Yeah, so, I did an analysis on a $400,000 loan, again, keeping it at the 6%, right, which I can assure you this 50 will have a premium to it, right? Just like the difference between the 50. If you stayed in it the whole loan and you didn't pay anything extra to principal, you're paying on a 50-year mortgage in 50 years, assuming you live long enough, $1,058,000 in interest versus a 30-year $463,000. But the key number to look at is, the average person now is staying in a home for 11 years, and your equity is very substantial if you do a 30 versus 50.
Jason Howard, the mayor of Rio Road, the king of Rio Road. We need what's a synonym for king or mayor that starts with R?
Starts with R. Regent?
The regent of Rio Road.
Look at that.
He says the federal government's tariffs on Canadian lumber is certainly a lever they could ease off to help housing prices and housing affordability.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. And so that everybody knows, this tariff problem with lumber has been going on when I started building in '87. It's always kind of been there. It's just been this weird relationship thing between Canada and the U.S. on lumber, because Canada at the moment is producing more than we are. There's maybe a bunch of reasons why, but yes, that'll make a huge impact on the cost. That said, if you can't get projects approved and there's nothing to build, doesn't really matter the cost of lumber.
Christopher Ketchum, he's a realtor. He's a fantastic photographer as well.
And YRP folks.
He says 50-year mortgage may not be the answer. However, starting the conversations, brainstorming possibility is something we can get excited about. Something good could come about having the conversation. That's from Christopher Ketchum, a very talented realtor. And
100%. And I don't discount that at all. What I wanted to do was kind of do the reality of what the math looks like. But again, I'm just going to keep on going back. If we can't get more product in the ground, I don't think it's going to matter much at all.
This is what Kevin Yancey watching a program.
Hey,
I'll
Kevin.
I'll get
How's it going?
what's
Be
Mayor
safe.
of Waynesboro? What's something that starts with W, so I can do more alliteration over
He's
there.
on the road driving, so be safe out there, Kevin.
He says in 2016 we bought at $273,000. It was assessed at $198,000. Fast forward 9 years, my assessment is now $500K plus. My mortgage has increased almost 100% strictly due to taxes. And he says, how about the federal government fix housing by getting global investment firms out of single-family detached home purchasing?
I hear you, Kevin. We don't see a lot of that in this market. I can't speak to the other side of the hill, but I'm pretty connected over there. I don't see a lot of that. You know, you do see this in the Phoenix, you know, in these large metro areas where there's, you know, what he's talking about is like BlackRock in these streets, the Wall Street firms buying. I actually think you're going to start seeing them dumping stuff on the market and capitalizing on the equity they have built into it. But we don't really see a lot of that in this market. I just don't. I hear Chris Ketchum that this is a good way to start a conversation and go in there. I think it also gives a little bit of false hope.
Here, 100% false hope. It's fool's gold. It is fool's gold. That is a perfect description of what this is.
Yeah, and you and I use different words and different languages on it, but it's just, to me, it's not helpful in the conversation because we're not really solving the real problem. And the real core problem is a simple Marine Corps 101, my brain can handle its supply and demand.
This is what we got to ask ourselves. This is the essence of the 50-year mortgage, okay? Judith, you wouldn't jump in if you want to. If the 50-year mortgage allows a family to fix or lock in their monthly payment as opposed to being in an escalating rent cycle as a tenant, where their payment goes up 4 to 5%, 6% every year, depending on the landlord. Is the 50-year mortgage a good thing? You're locking in your monthly payment.
So
I'll push back on that, though.
You're making, and that's
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
That's a good thought.
Yeah, that's the only convincing argument I've heard from anyone about the 50-year mortgage. So locking in the monthly payment, but I'll push back on that.
So we talked about this multiple times when inflation was out of control, right?
Locking in your payment.
It's the number one way that you can influence and combat inflation is buy a house, right? Regardless if it's a 50 or 30 or 15 years, whatever it is.
Kevin Yancey, the Berkshire Hathaway signs that you're seeing, he's pointing to Warren Buffett there. That's an actual brokerage, Kev.
Correct.
That's not Warren Buffett's firm, Scoop. That's an actual real estate brokerage.
Owned by Warren Buffett's conglomerate, which, by the way, they've sold off.
Yeah.
So it's actually they're doing.
That's not Wall Street buying up homes in Waynesboro.
And that's no different than Keller Williams.
Yeah, it's right.
But I can see. But in his defense, I can see where that's confusing, right? That somebody who's not in the space can do that. But anyway, that's a brokerage.
That is a brokerage. Yeah, that is not Wall Street buying up houses.
The Wall Street buying up the houses, by the way. you don't know nothing about.
100%, because they're doing it through nondescript subsidiaries and
You know nothing
LLCs
about-
that we don't even know about.
You don't know about.
Yeah.
You don't know about.
It's so under the radar.
You have no idea who they are, where
Right.
they are.
Exactly.
You can't pull up who's the managers or anything on that. But back to the inflation point. That
Fixing the monthly payment. And I'm going to push back on this if you take the pro side on this.
I'm taking a pro side on it, but it's so minimal. I'm just not so sure how I can defend it.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, yes. So if you notice when I answered the question, I didn't focus on 50, I said across the board, right? The best way to hedge inflation is to buy a home, assuming you can do it, assuming one's around, assuming the prices don't price you out, assuming you're making enough money to it. All those assumptions, the best way to hedge it, because rent will constantly go up, right?
Here's why I'm not buying the 50-year mortgage, even with the lock-in your payment argument. I will push back on the lock-in your payment argument because stuff breaks down in the house.
Yeah, sure.
And when it breaks down and you're in a renter environment, the landlord covers the costs. When you're in the 50-year mortgage environment, you will have to go out of pocket for the cost. Yeah. And you're going out of pocket to repair all the stuff while just paying interest, basically in a lot of ways renting for a large portion of the beginning of the 50-year mortgage. Furthermore, as assessments and insurance costs go up, your tax base, your insurance base is going to increase, so your payment is actually not fixed. How many people, raise your hand in the air, wave them around if you just don't care, have the same monthly payment with their mortgage from 24 months ago to today? No one. Your escrow is increasing.
Whoa. Hit the pause button
Please,
on that.
please.
Right? So you're mixing in your TI, your taxes and insurance.
My taxes and my escrow is higher.
You got to give me an opportunity
Sure,
to answer.
absolutely.
So the principal and interest will not change.
Of course not.
Right.
But your monthly payment changes.
Correct. But that argument I understand, but it doesn't hold water because those two items will increase your rent also. So so as the landlord's taxes go up, your rent's going to go up.
That's
because you decided not to pass it along. But if you were to pass your piece of rental property that you own, its insurances are going up.
Yep.
The taxes are going up, right? You may make the decision not to pass that along to your tenant.
100%. I do pass that on to my tenant.
Okay.
But my point is this. The person that's locked in a 50-year mortgage, we can't make the argument that they're fixing their monthly overhead tied to their house because they're not doing that.
We will have to disagree on that because they are on the PI side of it, right? And but if you're going to compare that to rent, yes, it's fixing your expenses because you're going to go up. Taxes are going to go up. They very rarely go down.
Taxes never go down. The insurance is going up.
That's not true.
Nelson County, 2 years ago.
Yeah. And that's
2 years ago.
And I think that's changing.
It is
It's
changing.
going to change now. This go around on it.
Okay, fine. We'll agree to disagree on this point. How about at that point? How about this point? When you own something in a 50-year mortgage, you have to fix anything that breaks down.
Yeah.
When you rent, you pass it on to your landlord.
So the 50-year mortgage will impact the less informed or
the unsophisticated and underfunded. I know you don't like those terms, but that's what it is.
The buyer who's not well informed. And to your point, so I had a great conversation with Yvonne on the way in, and she's my leveler in my language, and I love her to death, and she helps me with that on it. But we were having this debate about this 50-year mortgage, and she goes, Dad, this is kind of like this thing now. Anything you buy, right? It's got zero interest on it. Stretch out your payments for a thing. You're going to buy a sweater or a coat or something like that. Yeah. If you go on to like Banana Republic or whatever, they have these new options now that you can stretch these payments out at zero interest for 4 months. The problem is people are not making enough money to go ahead and afford all these things, and the market is throwing these options out there. To your point, I've got more than likely more than likely, the buyer of the 50-year mortgage is going to be less informed
And financially marginalized.
will be on the financial margins just to get in. And to your point, when you sit down as an agent and you're talking to a buyer and they want to do this, we need to let me finish. We need to ask very direct questions.
I don't think all agents are doing that. That's my next question.
Well,
for the realtors that are
can't-
watching this, because you're seeing it with the comments that are being put on social media now.
Yeah.
With the realtors that are watching this program, how many of you realtors, how many of you brokers are sitting down and saying, have you considered all financial vehicles and why did you select one and offering counsel? Or are you just saying, oh, you got the financing, let's just go to closing?
Yeah, I can't answer that question, and I won't answer that question, right? That's the people got to run their business the way they want to run their business and put their heads on the pillow the way they need to put their heads on the pillow. But that's the reason why you bring in trusted advisors. That's why you bring in folks the loan officers that will explain things to you. And, and if they are trying to do this, we're having this great conversation. The bottom line is nothing to buy. Right? We're on the back end of something, assuming we're going to be able to get the affordable housing buyer or the buyer at an affordable price point to buy, and we're thinking that 50 years is going to be the magic bullet. Well, the bottom line is we can have all this conversation we want, but there's not a damn thing for them to buy. So it doesn't, it's a great conversation to have for a talk show, but it's not really impacting the market that much. Back to your point, you're 100% right. You've got to have this conversation, and as far as I'm concerned, and I'm used to these conversations because I do this with the affordable housing programs I chair and I'm part of. We have requirements. You have to have you're required to take a home ownership class. You're required to take a fiscal. Come on, help me out. Not a fiscal impact. I'm in developer mode. Learn how to manage your finances, right? All these classes have to happen because you want to set people up for success to move forward. To your point, let's use this example. My brain is kicking in here, right? Let's go back to my example, my 450 and my 10%, and let's assume interest rates are the same and all this stuff. And we're in a house for 11 or more years. What's the life expectancy of a heat pump?
Depends on if you get it serviced twice a year, but I'd say anywhere from 8 to 12 years. I've got some pumps. Now these are the ones from back in the day that are 20 plus.
Yeah, I just changed out my 25-year ones.
Literally 20 plus, but some.
But the answer is 10 years.
Yeah, some go less than 10.
The answer is 10 years, right? That's the average life expectancy of a heat pump. And in a typical house, to replace one today is going to run you anywhere between, if you got one zone, two zones, $8,000 to as much as $20,000, depending on the size of the home and all this kind of great stuff. Well, let's do the 50-year mortgage. I am just paying my mortgage payment. I am now at year 11, only $19,000 worth of
That's my point.
equity.
Yeah.
I'm now because I'm going through this right now because we're refinancing.
Going to put $12K into a heat pump.
No, I'm refinancing my house.
Okay.
Right, because I want to pay for the apartment we built for mom and dad instead of replenish cash and yada, yada, yada. Well, I only get 80% of my value.
Yep, LTV.
Right? And then all of a sudden, I don't have enough math left over.
By math, you mean money?
Money.
Okay.
Left over to go ahead and do that. Versus I hit my 11th year on the 30-year mortgage, I got $75,000. But if I'm making an extra $150 a month, I got $103. We're playing with people's lives here and 100%. People's money here.
I'm also curious of this. Does
that make any sense?
That makes very much sense. I'm curious if the mortgage brokers are incentivized to push the 50-year mortgage.
First of all, let's full stop here.
Okay.
The 50-year doesn't exist yet.
Okay, but if it does, hear me out here. Okay, with a 50-year mortgage.
So the answer is they don't incentivize them on the 40. They're probably not going to do it on the 50.
Well, if you're slinging a 50-year mortgage, isn't there more interest payments tied to whoever's lending the money?
Yeah.
Isn't that beneficial to whoever's lending the money that there's more interest?
I wouldn't dare answer that question because I don't know how.
I don't know.
I don't know their world.
I don't know it either.
Mortgage folks.
Mortgage brokers that are watching the program
would probably do that.
Would you be incentivized to push a longer mortgage because there's more interest that is allocated to your lender, which means that your lender makes more on the back end? I would love to know that answer.
So when you say lender, are you talking the bank that's the investor, or you're talking about the mortgage broker?
I'm talking all the above.
Obviously, the lender is making more money because it's making more interest.
The lender would love a 50-year mortgage in a lot of circumstances.
I think on the front end, it's based. I don't know this as factual. I think it's just based on the loan amount, and they get a commission off of it, that kind of thing, on it. If the length of the loan is 15, 30, but I don't know the answer.
I would love to know that answer if any brokers, mortgage folks are watching the program.
My assumption's on the front end that they get it. The bank makes more interest on it. But the qualifications for this 50-year mortgage is going to be nuts, right? Guess what's climbing, by the way?
What?
The foreclosure rate.
Oh yeah, I just saw a headline. It's at a astronomical number.
It's 20% jump.
Yeah.
Now you have to take a look at the numbers. They're still anemic, right? They're not huge numbers, but foreclosures are climbing, right? So the bank is it is such a huge amount of risk on it. It's just, you're not going to be saving $300, right? Whatever math that somebody's telling you isn't going to happen.
And that's because so many consumers today shop based on monthly payment without actually looking at amortization tables and schedules.
Yeah. Yes. We've had this discussion for me and you for 7 years. With the exception of a handful of buyers, huge percentage of them always buy by the month. It's how much my monthly payment of a house I can afford. And we're going to go back to the thing is, it doesn't really matter because there's nothing to buy, right? So all this reminds me of kind of like, hey, look what I'm doing with my left hand, but don't look what I'm doing with my right.
Yeah, it's three-card money.
Hold it,
it's
that's
the guy
right.
On the
that's right.
The guy in the Queen's corner pushing three-card money on a cardboard box. Let me ask you this question here. With the 50-year mortgage, if it does materialize, we can even make an argument it puts more buyers in the swimming pool, which could in fact drive housing values and housing prices up.
It will drive up.
Because there's more buyer demand.
Yeah.
There's more buyers in the pool.
Yeah. I don't see an upside on this at all. Other than, I think the 50-year mortgage, because I've spoken to a bunch of mortgage brokers about this before today's show. I think the 50-year mortgage, unless it's tied to something that we don't know about yet, right? Some sort of incentive, some sort of down payment, something that the federal government and the state governments are going to try to do to incentivize this. If it's just left to the market, it's going to perform just like the 40. The 40 is only used when it's in an absolute must to try to get a deal across the finish line. That's what the mortgage folks are telling us, telling me anyway. It's just not. I don't think it's going to make a difference. I'm not going to push back, but I'm going to share something on the affordability side of it. As everybody knows, I chair the Piedmont Community Land Trust, and what we do well at is helping people be. And we're kind of averaging about 65, 70% of the AMI for this last 15 units that we've sold. We constantly look at how can we help people below that 50%, below that end of it. And my pushback in these meetings I'm at, because the people that I'm in want to do this, which only means I got to bring more subsidy to the table to make it happen. My pushback is always this: well, okay, great. Are we setting up these buyers for failure? Because in 5 years, 10 years, whatever, what if they need a new roof? What if they need an HVAC? They've got to be able to pull from an account somewhere to pay this. And it's really hard to make that account build at that income level. So I think the 50-year will do the same thing.
So much to cover on the program. Keith Smith, comments are coming in quickly.
Sure.
Tina Wyatt Breeden, thank you for watching the program. Viewers and listeners, we do not have much supply, as Keith Smith's highlighted. Woody Fincham's watching the broadcast.
Hey, Woody, how's it going, man?
Time value of money. He hates the 50-year mortgage. Maybe hates the wrong word, but he's highlighting time value of money, which would indicate he's opposed to the 50-year mortgage. And he says the biggest foreclosure subsegment is the FHA new construction.
Yeah. He would know what that is for sure. It's just, hate's a strong word. You never want to use that. It just feels like a great talking point for a bunch of talking heads on the TV, or apparently on a long format podcast, or whatever we want to put a title on what we're doing here. It's just not going to make a difference. You got to figure out a way to increase inventory. And if you take the time to kind of take a look around the country where inventory increased, you'll find that prices are stabilized. But at the moment, it's a great conversation to have for a talk show and around a cooler.
How about the portable mortgages that are being discussed? You know, that's also in the hopper.
Yeah. So I don't know enough about them to speak intelligently. And that's a struggle of mine, period. But to speak intelligently about it, so whatever I would say about it would be completely off my cuff. I didn't study them.
A portable mortgage allows a homeowner to transfer their...
I know what it is.
Well, I'm telling the viewers and listeners.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. A portable mortgage...
I forgot, it's just not me and you.
There's other people, yeah. A portable mortgage allows a homeowner to transfer their existing mortgage, including the remaining balance, interest rate, and terms, from their current home to a new property when they move. This feature, while common in countries like Canada, is not a standard offering in the United States, although it is currently being evaluated by the Federal Housing Finance Agency, the FHFA, as a potential option to increase housing market mobility. Trump is actively evaluating a portable mortgage strategy for our country.
So
this is insane.
For an old Marine, tell me exactly how that works. How does that actually work, right? So you're saying I got a mortgage on 35 acres. Oh, by the way, that's where I live. But anyway, on my existing house right now, right? So I got a mortgage. It's worth X.
When you port a mortgage, you are essentially applying for a new mortgage that retains the terms of your old mortgage.
Oh, okay.
The process typically involves reapplication and requalification,
Got it.
property valuation, timing, and additional borrowing, but does allow you to keep your rate, avoids prepayment penalties. You use the same lender, and you save on some fees.
Yeah, except when you're going to go buy something, it's going to be more expensive than what your mortgage is on your existing
Very,
house.
very prominent in Canada.
How do you come up with the gap?
Mortgage.
How do you come up with the gap?
You have to take money out of pocket.
You have to have cash.
Yeah.
So
or the gap is
a second loan.
Yeah.
A second loan. So you end up with a second loan on it. Yeah. Look, I understand the creativity, right? And yes, there's a bunch of levers, or there's a bunch of creativity items to go ahead and use and try to solve this. But I keep, after World War II, in the early 80s, after the disaster of the 18%, 16% mortgage rate, the way we got out of those is we just created more product for people to buy. We increased the inventory, and the market took care of itself, right? And I hear all these different products, and they're great. And another one that if people have been in their homes like us for 25 years, and I got a small balance on my mortgage, recasting is a great option, right? And for those who don't know what recasting is right. So I've got a X dollar, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars loan on it. I have only a very small amount left on it. But my 30-year mortgage is tied to this larger number, right, through this amortization table. So a recasting is you go back and say, look, I'll keep my same interest rates, all this stuff. I just want to have a 30-year mortgage now put on $100,000 or $50,000, and it lowers your interest, your monthly payment substantially, because you just change the principal. Some banks do it, some don't. On it. So, that's a little tool if you're in it and you're trying to increase your cash flow. and you don't want to sell, look at recasting. It's a great little tool to go ahead and do that. But prices are going up. Incomes are rising, but not as fast as cost of housing, right? We're somewhere, depending on you look at, anywhere between 40 to 50% of people's income is now going to the housing. So we're well above this magical 33% number that nobody seems to be able to hit on it. I just think that, okay, coach, I got a home that's 25 years old. My original loan was, I think, $350,000 on it. I got about 50 some odd thousand dollars, whatever it is, left on it. So you're just saying I could take that now, go buy another house. Great, not a problem. But where am I going to come up with the extra couple of $100,000 to do the difference? And the way you do that is you sell your house, you take out all your equity, and that's the one thing nobody's talking about is all the equity that we've got the highest amount of equity in history in people's houses. I just don't. I just feel like people are just grabbing at straws.
So this comment comes in from someone who's in the game that's asking for anonymity.
Sure.
Unless the government is going to guarantee the performance of a portable mortgage, no lender would provide it at a reasonable price.
Yeah, sure.
Mortgages are priced assuming they will refi in 7 to 10 years.
Sure.
So it's really 8-year money and risk amortized over 30.
Yeah.
If the portable mortgage is a thing, then pricing will be wild. It's just not reality that our government officials are discussing. Go figure. Assumable are actual products in the commercial side, but only because those still have balloons.
Yeah.
5th grade class president race, no homework, vote for me. That was the best.
Yeah.
I can totally see you saying that too. 5th grade class president race. We're not going to have any homework.
Hold it.
We'll have pizza every day at the cafeteria, and recess is going to replace history class. Vote for me. And I'm going to give you some Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pops. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop?
I never got that far.
1, 2,
3. Crunch.
3. 3 licks.
So you're supposed to do homework?
Some of us did homework, Keith.
No, and some of us
Some
didn't.
of us did homework.
Yeah, so look, I to take this
That
a
was
little
hilarious.
Yeah, that was, yeah. To take this a little bit on the high level, they're trying to come up with these creativity or creative. Thank you. I'm just thinking about the Tootsie Rolls. It's just, look, guys, we just got to create more homes.
The reality is this.
It's just not
is
gonna-
the federal government, the Trump administration,
It doesn't matter if it's Trump or
the entire
Mickey Mouse.
year so far has been rooted in overreach. It's overreach.
Well, I don't want to make this.
We're not making it about politics,
political,
but this is overreach.
But this is what he does. He
Yeah.
throws these ideas out there and see what kind of pushback it gets on it. So it's just, I'm thinking about Chris Ketchum's comment. Unfortunately, when we're sitting down talking to a buyer, we now have to have this conversation.
You now, as the supply chain of real estate, have to spend more of your most important resource, your time, on this.
Yeah, and it becomes a. I had a buyer consult yesterday. It popped up, and it was more. This was a well-informed buyer, obviously. What the price point we were looking at, but it was more of a hey, what do you think kind of thing, right? It wasn't. Hey, I'm seriously considering this. The other thing of all of this stuff, right? What we're not talking about, all of this whole conversation, what percentage of sales are now cash?
It's close to 40, 35, 36%.
Nationwide, it's about a third.
Yeah.
Here, we're pushing 40%.
Yeah.
We're pushing 40% on that. So that's not even in part of the conversation,
Yeah.
right? Because they're going ahead and do this. But look, the best way to help housing affordability is to put more houses in the ground. It's kind of like my dear friend, we were talking about homeless, and he goes, you know, what's the best way to fix homelessness is put people in houses. The best way to fix affordability is to increase the inventory. And that realistically, you know, just to be honest with everybody, is very unlikely to happen. We'll have some wins, right? We're going to have some wins in Greene County, right? We're going to have some wins in some different areas on that. You'll watch those markets start stabilizing in their prices because inventory is going to happen. Again, that's going to change because we got all these new jobs coming with these high salaries. It's just, you know, it's an exciting time to be in real estate. I'm about as pumped as I've ever been about real estate, to be honest with you, because it takes a little bit of
nuance,
chutzpah to make this.
sophistication.
I like chutzpah better. Go ahead and do this.
Woody Fincham, Fincham and Associates, and I'll offer a little clarity. He says he does not hate the 50-year mortgage, but I also understand that if it comes about, it's going to affect people that it's really not beneficial for. If you can't build equity and wealth in your home, then what's the point? I think it's an effective tool to be utilized in certain situations. And he says Trump is doing nothing more but throwing spaghetti against the wall, and he's going to support very loudly the noodle that gets the biggest reaction. Love you, Woody Fincham.
That's what he does, right? But to put a little bit of nuance to that, that's exactly what the 40-year mortgage does. And that's why there's so few of them. I mean, he's the guy that would know, right?
Woody would know. He's Fincham Associates, an appraiser.
Because he has the banks call him. I would love to know of the gazillion he does, and I believe that's the real number, gazillion. The gazillion he does.
How many are tied to a 40?
How many am I tied to the 40? I will venture to bet it's in the very low single digits.
Oh, I would bet you to bet it's tied to a number he can count on one hand, if not two. Dan Pettit watching the program, Mustache Dan Pettit. I missed you, Mustache Dan Pettit.
Yeah, how's your tennis game?
He's got a very fundamentally sound forehand, Mustache Dan Pettit.
So a little local politics, because we're coming up on close time.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm sure you're following this, but Greene County's has finally settled. What's today? Today's Friday. On Wednesday, so Steve Catalano won by 9 votes.
Woo! The margin was initially 12, so that dropped from 12 to 9, didn't it not?
So when they went through
the recount,
well, it was at 12, and then it was at 8. I think when they started the recount of the 40 provisionals, it was at 8. He was up by 8. He picked up 1 in the provisionals, so the provisional votes split pretty much down the middle for his opponent and him. But he came across the finish line with 9 votes. So back to what Batman and Robin and Captain America and the Jedi Knight were talking about. You know, votes matter, right? Get out there and vote. And so this now will impact what happens moving forward in Greene County. And there's I can't officially say it, and I'm going to do it next Friday. Because I was part of something that we got approved with VDOT on a project that has never been done in the history of VDOT. I was like, I've got to wait till I get the formal piece of paper from them, but it's for a project I'm consulting for some folks on that with a couple of years of hard work and phone calls, we did something that has never been done before with VDOT.
I can't wait to talk about it. Yep. Next Friday on Real Talk with Keith Smith.
And then after that, we're off for Thanksgiving, right?
I don't know. And you're going to.
I'm working remotely. That's what we prefer to
okay,
use.
He's working remotely for the entire month of December.
Plus.
Okay, yeah. There you go.
Well, it's 2 weeks we shut down. Thanks. I was supposed to not. I was told not to talk about that.
I think she's watching.
The boss. 100%. Yeah.
Viewers and listeners, Keith Smith, Real Talk with Keith Smith on the I Love CVille Network, archived at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. That's a lot of paper.
8. I wanted to do it because I wanted to physically see how many pages it was. 30 year is 8. I think I may have misspoke. 50 is 16. Double the number of pages, and I didn't play with the margins.
Judah Wickhauer behind the camera, the director and producer, the man with a very sharp jacket. This show
Which is not Patagonia.
is not Patagonia. If you go to Real Talk with Keith Smith and you click the Partners tab on realtalkwithkeithsmith.com, you will see the folks that Keith Smith and Yonna Smith have personally vetted in real estate. Businesses like ISC, a home's best friend, Fincham and Associates, ladies and gentlemen, title, closing, you name it. RealTalkWithKeithSmith.com is your source for any business that you can trust in real estate. The I Love CVille show is up in approximately 50 minutes.
If you got questions on the 50-year mortgage, ask your trusted advisor, your realtor, and ask them to explain what this actually means.
Somewhere the realtors are like this.
Needed to save myself at the last minute. Thank you. Appreciate this, Miller.
Yeah. So long, everybody. Take care.
I got to work with these people. Just saying. Oh, good Lord.
That was a great show. Per usual.
Yeah, yeah.